She said my brother was upstairs, but he'd been missing for hours. That night, the lake whispered back. Tonight's story isn't a legend, it's a memory. A chilling account from a girl who once loved skating on frozen lakes, until one winter afternoon, she saw something that would haunt her forever. This is the story of the woman at Whispering Lake, a house that shouldn't have been there, a voice that shouldn't have spoken, and a presence that never stopped watching. If you ever find yourself gazing in the snow and you see a lonely house at the edge of the woods, now, if you're new to this channel, be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more mysterious stories. On to today's story. My name is Ella, and I'm going to tell you my story that, even now, years later, introduces a chill into my bones that no fireside or duvet can quite chase away. It wasn't a dream, nor some flight of fancy that could be dismissed in the morning light. It happened, more real than reality, and more terrifying than mere fear. Our story begins in a rather anonymous little town in northern Canada, where winter doesn't so much arrive as stage a hostile, silent, white takeover. It was the sort of place where the tree branches sagged under the weight of the snow, as if burdened by some dreadful secret. Our house was on the very edge of town where the trees and the lake began. My father, Mr. Davidson, was a former ice hockey player and skating coach. For him, snow and ice were a playground of delight. On this particular day, a Sunday with deceptively golden sunshine, the four of us, myself, my older brother Josh, and our parents, had gone skating on the nearby Whispering Lake. The air smelled of fresh frost, and the sunlight glittered off the ice particles like so many tiny diamonds. Laughter, games, and the promise of hot chocolate. Everything was, for all intents and purposes, perfectly lovely. It was as we ventured towards the far shore that my eyes landed upon it. In the distance, on a sloping hillside at the edge of a dense wood, stood a house. It was utterly isolated from the others. It was built of a dark, heavy timber, scarred by time and the elements. Its windows were dark, as if shuttered from the inside with black cloth. No smoke curled from the chimney. All in all, it looked rather old, dreadfully forlorn, and decidedly unwelcoming. "Josh, look," I said, gesturing, my voice a mix of wonder and curiosity. Josh, who always fancied himself the confident, sturdy type, squinted. "Yes, I see it, but Ella, no one lives there. People say that house is empty." "Still, it looks mysterious and interesting, doesn't it?" I pressed. "No," Josh said in that infuriatingly final tone older brothers master. "We are not going there. It looks like more trouble than it's worth." I let the matter drop, but the image of the house was etched onto my mind. That night, looking out from my bedroom window, I thought of it again. That solitary house, sitting in the moonlit white expanse, guarding whatever secret it held. The next morning, it began to snow at an ungodly hour. This wasn't a soft, picturesque snowfall. It was a dense, brutal blizzard that wrapped the world in a fuzzy white blanket. Dreadful weather. Despite this, our childish enthusiasm, much like a determined postman, was not to be deterred. We managed to convince our parents to let us go skating, promising we wouldn't venture far. The path to the lake was submerged in silence. Only the sound of falling snow and the crunch of our boots could be heard. "Come on, let's play a game," I said to Josh, a mischievous grin on my face. "First one to the tree in front of that old house wins." "Josh, this isn't funny," he said, his voice serious. "I don't like that place." "Oh, so you're scared," I teased. This was a blow to his pride he couldn't abide. He laughed. "Right then, listen, a wager. The loser makes the winner hot chocolate for a full week, and we do not go past the tree, just close enough to get a proper look." "Deal," I said immediately. And so we were off. Our skates cut through the fresh powder. The wind whipped at my hair, and ice crystals stung my cheeks. Josh, being stronger and more skilled, pulled ahead. I pushed to keep up, but on a turn my balance betrayed me, and I went down rather hard. When I got up, my right hand was stinging, and my gloves were soaked. I saw Josh disappearing in the distance, nearly at the house. I scrambled to my feet and started skating again. But when I reached the spot where we were to meet, there was no one there. Silence. Pure, heavy, venomous silence. "Josh?" My voice echoed faintly. No reply. "Josh, this isn't funny! Come out!" My heart was hammering unreasonably. I looked around. In the snow, there were only Josh's skate marks leading right up to the front door of the house, and then they stopped, as if he had simply evaporated into the ether. The cold gripped me, but it wasn't the weather. It was that deep, internal chill of fear that freezes one to the marrow. I was about to turn and flee when a voice arrested me. "Are you looking for your brother?" It wasn't loud, nor was it harsh. It was a whisper, soft and sweet, but with an icy sharpness to it that seemed to slice through my eardrums and run down my spine. I turned, slowly. Standing in the shadow of the house's closed door was a woman. She was dressed in a long dark gray coat, and her hair was as white as the snow that dusted her shoulders. Her face, I never did see her face clearly. It was blurred, like a portrait where the paint had run, but I could feel her smile, a thin, lifeless smile that held no joy whatsoever. "Where is he?" I stammered, my voice trembling. The woman lifted a pale hand and gestured towards the upper floor. "He is upstairs, with me. You may come in if you like." My feet were rooted to the spot. My body had mutinied against all my commands to run. In a horribly involuntary motion, I let my gaze travel up to the window she had indicated. And then I saw it. Behind the glass, a black shadow. It was the silhouette of a tall man with no discernible features, but it was standing perfectly still, looking down at the scene below. And then its head tilted, just so, as if it were looking directly at me, recognizing me. That was the moment my courage deserted me entirely. My scream died in my throat. I wrenched my skates around and fled back across the lake as fast as my terrified legs could carry me. I didn't look back. I could feel those shadowed eyes boring in my back and that sweet, poisonous voice ringing in my ears. When I reached home, I flung the door open with such force I'm surprised it didn't come off its hinges. I was gasping, wild-eyed, and my lips had a distinct bluish tint. And then I saw him. Josh! He was sitting on the sofa, clutching a warm mug, perfectly hale and hearty. "Ella, where were you? I didn't see you come back," he said, his voice laced with concern. You were that woman? She said you were upstairs." Our parents emerged. My mother immediately started brushing the caked snow from my cheeks, and my father fixed us with a stern look. "What on earth is going on? Josh, you're as white as a sheet. Ella, why are you crying?" Josh looked down at his fidgeting hands. "When I got there, the door, it creaked open by itself, Dad, like someone was inviting me in. I got spooked. I bolted. I thought Ella was right behind me." Through sobs, I recounted my side, the white-haired woman, the shadow in the upper window, and the dreadful invitation. The color drained from my father's face. He asked no further questions. He pulled on his heavy coat, took his rifle from the cabinet, and uttered a single word, "Right." The three of us, Father, Josh, and I, skated back to the dreadful house. The wind had picked up now, whipping the blizzard into a frenzy. When we arrived, the house was as silent and shut up as ever. Our previous tracks were already erased. There were no new marks, no evidence that any of us had ever been there. My father knocked on the door of the neighboring house. An elderly gentleman, Mr. Abercrombie, answered, looking rather surprised. "This house," he said, getting straight to the point. "Who lives there?" "Oh, that one. A couple of young chaps," the old man said, his voice trembling slightly. "But they left for the city on Friday evening. The place is completely empty." "Empty?" my father repeated, his voice thick with disbelief. "My children have just seen a woman there." Mr. Abercrombie took a deep breath, and a look of old recollection came into his eyes. "Mr. Davidson, that house has a history. Many years ago, a woman lived there, Alexandra. Her hair was as white as snow. She lived there with her son. One stormy night, the boy vanished, never found. They say Alexandra never left the house. Folks say she's still looking for him, looking for someone else to take his place." A shiver, entirely unrelated to the temperature, ran through me. The police were called. They forced the lock. The interior was perfectly ordinary. Furniture under white sheets, everything under a layer of dust. No signs of life. But then an inspector pointed to an upstairs room. "Look at this." The curtain in the upper window, the very one I had seen the shadow in, was scorched. On it was a clear black stain, shaped almost like a tall, thin human figure, as if someone had stood too close to a candle flame for a very, very long time. Finding no concrete evidence, the police closed the case. Officially, it was all put down to an overactive imagination. Years passed. We grew up. Josh went off to university, and I was in high school. During a winter break, when he was home, we went for a nostalgic trip to Whispering Lake. And the house was still there. Time had done very little to it. It was now occupied by two young men who gave us a friendly wave. But as I happened to glance up at that upper window, something happened. The curtain twitched, and for a single moment a faint, blurred outline appeared and then vanished. It was so swift I couldn't be sure I'd seen anything at all. Still, my heart gave a most unpleasant lurch. I looked at Josh. His eyes were also locked on that window, and the same old familiar fear had resettled on his features. He had felt it too. We didn't say a word. There was no need. To this day, whenever I skate on a frozen pond, I keep my eyes firmly on the well-trodden paths. I never, ever venture towards the wooded edges or forlorn-looking structures, because I know that some secrets are best left buried under the snow, and that some women, with hair as white as the driven snow, are still waiting, hoping to find a new child to replace the one they lost. So if you're ever in a quiet, snowy place and you see an old, dark house with no lights in the windows, do be a good sport and don't go in. Just don't. It's simply not the done thing. And besides, she might be watching, and she might be ever so keen to have you round for tea.